First Contact and Betrayal. The exploration vessel Horizon drifted silently through the void, its sleek metallic hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Captain Alara Reeves stood on the bridge, her weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. 20 years of space exploration had prepared her for many things, but nothing quite like this moment. Contact holding position at designated coordinates, Captain, reported Navigation Officer Marcus Holt, his fingers dancing across the sensor array. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Their power output, it's extraordinary. Alara nodded, maintaining her composed demeanor despite the historic significance unfolding before them. Humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization. After centuries of searching the stars, questioning if we were alone, the answer had arrived in the form of the vessel that now hovered before them. Open communications using first contact protocols, she ordered, straightening her uniform. The main view screen flickered, revealing a being with crystalline skin that shimmered with iridescent patterns. Its 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, studied the humans with clear intelligence. When it spoke, the ship's universal translator converted its melodic tones into words. Greetings, explorers of Earth. I am Grand Emissary Vex Lore of the Xeraxian Collective. We have observed your species' advancement with great interest and welcome you to the galactic community. Within 6 months, humanity and the Xeraxians had established what appeared to be a mutually beneficial relationship. The aliens shared carefully selected technological insights that accelerated human development by decades. Trade routes connected Earth to Xeraxian outposts, and cultural exchanges flourished across both societies. Most significantly, the Xeraxians helped establish 5 human colonies on resource-rich worlds they claimed were uninhabited and within safe territories. Director Jonah Takeda oversaw Nova Prime, the flagship colony housing 75,000 settlers. The thriving settlement featured advanced environmental domes that created Earth-like conditions on the alien world. 3 years ago, I wouldn't have believed any of this was possible, Jonah remarked to his deputy director, Freya Navarro, as they watched children playing in the colony's central plaza. Farmers tended fields of hybrid crops, Earth varieties genetically modified to thrive in the alien soil with Xeraxian agricultural techniques. We're witnessing the dawn of humanity's stellar expansion, Freya replied. The beginning of our new chapter among the stars. But beyond human observation, deep within shielded chambers on the Xeraxian homeworld, a very different perspective prevailed. Chief researcher Zilith moved between laboratory stations where unconscious human subjects, diplomats and traders who had disappeared during transit between systems, were being methodically studied. Their physiological resilience exceeds initial projections, Zilith explained to assembled military officials. Their immune systems adapt with remarkable speed. More concerning is their problem-solving capacity. They've already integrated elements of our base-level technology in ways we didn't anticipate. Supreme Commander Dravox, his crystalline skin darkening with concern, studied the data displays. Your assessment, Chief Researcher. Given sufficient time and resources, humans could eventually challenge Xeraxian dominance in this sector. Their unpredictable nature makes them problematic. The test colonies have provided valuable data on their adaptation, but we've learned all we need. Dravox's expression hardened. Then we proceed with containment protocol. Prepare the fleet. Exactly 3 years and 4 months after first contact, the attack came without warning. Director Takeda was reviewing expansion plans when emergency alarms blared throughout Nova Prime. He rushed to the command center where chaos had erupted, technicians shouting over each other as massive Xeraxian warships descended through the atmosphere. This has to be a mistake, insisted Communications Officer Elena Diaz, even as her training took over. She activated the emergency broadcast system. All citizens, this is not a drill. Proceed immediately to designated shelters. I repeat, this is not a drill. The first bombardment shook the command center. Power systems failed as Takeda grabbed the emergency transmitter, sending a desperate message toward Earth, Nova Prime under attack by Xeraxian forces. They're targeting civilian structures. This is deliberate. A second blast collapsed the ceiling, cutting the transmission. Similar scenes played out across all 5 human colonies simultaneously. Xeraxian precision ensured communications blackouts within minutes of the initial strikes. Evacuation ships were destroyed on launch pads. Hospitals and power plants were primary targets. On Earth, the United Global Defense Council convened as fragmented distress calls arrived from the colonies. The room fell silent as Director Takeda's desperate voice played over the speakers, cutting off mid-sentence. Similar broken messages followed from other colonies, each ending in static. Admiral Victor Okafor, head of Earth's Defense Command, watched grimly as satellite imagery showed the colonies going dark one by one. They coordinated this attack perfectly, he said, his voice tight with controlled fury. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a rogue element. This was premeditated genocide. General Haruko Tanaka studied the tactical display with growing horror. The colony locations weren't random unclaimed worlds. They form a strategic corridor that gives the Xeraxians a direct approach to our solar system. President Eliza Cortez's voice came through the communication system. I've called an emergency session of the United Earth Council. We need options, people. Real options. As night fell across Earth, billions went about their lives unaware that everything had changed. In government facilities, military bases, and research centers, lights burned through the night as humanity faced a shocking truth: their first contact with alien life had been an elaborate deception. Now they confronted an enemy who had studied them for years while pretending to be friends. The Grand Chamber of the United Earth Council fell silent as Admiral Okafor stepped away from the podium. The evidence he had presented hung in the air, displayed on holographic screens surrounding the chamber: Xeraxian scientists performing experiments on captured humans, military plans showing Earth as the ultimate target, and casualty reports from the colonies estimating over 320,000 dead in the initial attacks. We're looking at an enemy with superior technology, vastly greater resources, and a head start in this war, Okafor stated plainly. But they've made a critical error in their assessment of humanity. President Cortez stood, her normally diplomatic demeanor replaced by cold resolve. The question before this council is simple: do we fight with everything we have, or do we attempt negotiation from a position of absolute weakness? The vote was unanimous. Within hours, emergency broadcasts announced that humanity was at war with an alien species. Factories worldwide converted to military production faster than emergency plans had anticipated. Recruitment centers found lines forming before dawn. Research facilities were given unlimited resources and freedom from regulatory oversight to develop countermeasures. In a classified facility beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura addressed a team of Earth's most brilliant scientists and engineers. Project Thunderbolt is now active, he announced, entering command codes into a secure terminal. The Xeraxians have technology we can barely comprehend, but they've never faced human ingenuity when our survival is at stake. As the scientists dispersed to their stations, Dr. Nakamura remained at the viewing window, watching as lights activated in the massive construction bay below. The experimental vessels there, incorporating theoretical technology humans had never fully tested, represented humanity's desperate gamble. They should have killed us all at once, he murmured to himself. Now they'll learn what cornered humans can do. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Reed stood on the observation deck of the hastily retrofitted battleship Defiance, watching as Earth grew smaller behind them. The small flotilla of ships represented humanity's first counteroffensive, a desperate mission to rescue any survivors from the colonies and gather intelligence on their enemy. "Do you think we have a chance?" asked Tactical Officer James Hendricks, joining her at the viewport. Olivia's eyes remained fixed on the disappearing blue sphere of their homeworld. "The Xeraxians think they know us, but they've only seen what we're like in peace. They have no idea what humanity becomes in war." The Defiance's engines flared brighter as it accelerated toward deep space, carrying humanity's determination to survive, and with it, the seeds of vengeance that would reshape the galaxy forever. The counterattack. Admiral Julian Blackwood stood motionless before the massive holographic display in Earth Defense Command's underground war room. 6 months had passed since the Xeraxian attack, and the situation seemed increasingly dire. Red markers indicating alien fleet movement surrounded humanity's blue sphere like predators circling wounded prey. "They're methodically cutting off every possible escape route," observed Strategic Operations Director Naomi Kwan, her voice steady despite the implications. "The Xeraxian Armada has established blockades at all major jump points. Our intelligence suggests they're preparing for the final assault within 3 months." Blackwood's weathered face remained impassive, but his eyes burned with determination. At 62, he had spent 4 decades in military service, but nothing had prepared him for commanding humanity's defense against an interstellar enemy. "And Project Thunderbolt?" he asked. "Dr. Nakamura reports the prototypes are ready for field testing," Kwan replied. "But sir, even with the theoretical advancements, we're still technologically outmatched." Blackwood turned to face the assembled military leadership. "The Xeraxians believe this is a simple extermination. They expect us to fight conventionally, to lose conventionally. But humanity has never accepted inevitable defeat." Deep beneath Antarctica's ice, Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura led Admiral Blackwood through the cavernous development hangar. Overhead, massive robotic arms assembled components on experimental ships while engineers worked feverishly at testing stations. "The Xeraxians made a fundamental error in their approach," Nakamura explained, his breath visible in the cold air. "They introduced us to advanced technology, assuming we would take generations to reverse engineer and improve upon it. They didn't account for human creativity under existential threat. They stopped before a sleek vessel unlike any in Earth's military. Its hull featured an irregular pattern of hexagonal plates and unusual protrusions. The Thunderbolt-class destroyer," Nakamura announced with evident pride. "Incorporating what we've learned from Xeraxian technology combined with theoretical concepts our scientists had shelved as too experimental." "Will it work?" Blackwood asked bluntly. "The quantum deflection shield can't match Xeraxian defensive capabilities in raw power," Nakamura admitted. "But it operates on principles they've never encountered. Their standard weapons should be partially phased out of alignment with our ships." He gestured toward another section where missiles were being loaded into a modified frigate. "Similarly, our new Spectre warheads don't try to overpower their shields, they momentarily shift into an alternate dimensional state to bypass them entirely." Blackwood nodded slowly. "We're not trying to beat them at their own game." "Precisely. We're changing the game entirely." Lieutenant Commander Olivia Reed stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Thunderbolt-class destroyer Vengeance, her ship at the forefront of a small battle group approaching Proxima Station, one of humanity's critical research outposts now occupied by Xeraxian forces. Intelligence suggested the aliens were using the station to analyze human technology. "Xeraxian battle group detected," announced Tactical Officer James Hendricks. 7 warships, including a command cruiser. They're moving to intercept." Reed exchanged glances with Lieutenant Darius Way, the brilliant physicist who had helped develop their revolutionary weapons systems. "Ready to find out if Dr. Nakamura's theories hold up in actual combat?" Way managed a tight smile. "Would have preferred a small-scale test first, but the scientific method is all about adapting to circumstances." "All vessels, execute Formation Delta," Reed ordered. "Prepare Spectre missiles but hold fire until my command." The human vessels spread into a seemingly scattered pattern that made little sense by conventional tactics. On the Xeraxian command cruiser, Fleet Commander Trazak observed the approaching human ships with dismissive confidence. "Their formation indicates desperation," he noted to his subordinates. "Tactical analysis suggests these vessels incorporate crude adaptations of our lower-tier technology. Victory probability, 98.3%. "Shall we deploy the full battle array?" his second-in-command inquired. "Unnecessary. Standard elimination protocols will suffice." The Xeraxian warships fired in perfect coordination, energy weapons lancing across space toward the human vessels. But when the beam struck the Vengeance, something unexpected happened. Instead of catastrophic damage, the energy partially dispersed in rippling patterns across the quantum deflection shields. Shield integrity at 72%, reported Hendricks, his voice tight but controlled. Significant reduction in impact compared to theoretical models. Execute attack pattern Omega, Reed commanded. Launch Spectre missiles, all vessels fire. Across the human battle group, missile tubes discharged their experimental payloads. The Xeraxian defensive systems tracked and targeted the incoming projectiles with perfect precision, but as their energy weapons struck the missiles, they passed through harmlessly. For a fraction of a second, the Spectre warheads existed partially in another dimensional state. On the Xeraxian command cruiser, alarms blared as sensors registered the impossible. Weapons ineffective. The missiles are. The transmission cut off as multiple explosions blossomed across the alien vessel. 3 of their 7 ships ruptured from within as the phase-shifting warheads rematerialized inside their hulls, bypassing their shields entirely. Evasive maneuvers. Recalibrate defensive systems. Commander Trazak shouted, his crystalline skin darkening with shock. For the first time in the war, Xeraxian forces faced technology they hadn't anticipated. Reed watched as the remaining alien vessels attempted to regroup, their previously perfect formation dissolving into chaos. Press the advantage. All vessels, close to secondary weapons range. The battle for Proxima Station marked a turning point. Though humanity lost 2 ships and suffered significant damage to others, they destroyed 5 Xeraxian vessels and recaptured the station. More importantly, they demonstrated that humans could innovate in ways the Xeraxians hadn't predicted. Lieutenant Darius Way led a team through the recaptured station, documenting the Xeraxian research facilities and salvaging critical technology. In a secured laboratory, he discovered something unexpected: biological samples from various alien species, not just humans. These aren't the first civilization they've targeted, Way realized, scanning through the alien database with the help of translation algorithms. The Xeraxians have a pattern of finding emerging spacefaring species, establishing friendly relations, then eliminating them once they've extracted all useful information. He transferred the data to a secure drive, heart racing. But they've never encountered a species that fought back effectively. This changes everything. When the Vengeance returned to Earth, the information Way recovered transformed humanity's strategic approach. Admiral Blackwood convened an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. The Xeraxians are not invincible, he declared, as the data projected around the chamber. And we're not alone in having suffered their betrayal. Their empire expanded through the systematic elimination of potential rivals, at least 7 other species according to the records Lieutenant Way recovered. President Cortez leaned forward. Can we contact any survivors of these other civilizations? Most were completely eradicated, Way explained. But the database suggests one species, the Nelvarians, managed to preserve small hidden enclaves after their main worlds fell. We've identified potential coordinates. If we could form an alliance. General Tanaka began. Blackwood nodded. Exactly. But first, we need to survive long enough to reach them. Over the next 2 months, Earth's factories worked at maximum capacity producing Thunderbolt-class vessels and Spectre weapons. The quantum deflection shield technology was refined, increasing its effectiveness against Xeraxian weapons. Civilian ships were retrofitted with military capabilities, creating an improvised but increasingly formidable fleet. Meanwhile, a stealth vessel was dispatched toward the coordinates where the Nelvarians might be found. The Xeraxians, confronted with unexpected resistance, accelerated their timetable for Earth's elimination. Supreme Commander Dravox assembled their largest battle fleet, over 300 warships, and set course for the Sol system. The humans have displayed unanticipated adaptability, he acknowledged to his war council. But they remain technologically inferior. This concentrated assault will overwhelm their defenses and end their resistance permanently. What Dravox couldn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment. When Zeraxian long-range sensors detected only a small defensive force orbiting Earth, they assumed victory was assured. They didn't detect the majority of Earth's fleet, hidden behind Jupiter's moons with experimental cloaking technology derived from the Proxima station data. As the Zeraxian armada approached Earth, Admiral Blackwood gave the order that would determine humanity's fate: Operation Thunderstrike commence. All vessels execute jump to pre-designated coordinates. Using modified jump drives, Earth's hidden fleet materialized directly among the Zeraxian formation, a maneuver the aliens had considered theoretically impossible at such precision. The battle erupted in chaos as human vessels unleashed their experimental weapons at point-blank range. Aboard the Vengeance, now commanding a strike group targeting the Zeraxian flagship, Commander Reed watched as space itself seemed to ignite with weapons fire. All vessels, focus fire on designated weak points. Deploy Spectre torpedoes on my mark. On Earth's surface, billions watched the skies where brief flashes of light indicated the desperate battle taking place. In command centers globally, military leaders monitored the conflict that would determine whether humanity had a future. Dr. Nakamura and his team analyzed real-time data from the battlefield, making emergency adjustments to weapon systems remotely. The Zeraxians are adapting to the Spectre technology, he warned. Effectiveness dropping by 23% already. But Lieutenant Wei, who had joined Nakamura's team for the battle, noticed something unexpected in the data streams. Their adaptive algorithms follow a predictable pattern. If we modulate our phase frequencies according to this sequence, we can stay ahead of their countermeasures. The battle raged for 14 hours, the largest space conflict in human history. Earth's defenses sustained heavy damage, with nearly 40% of their fleet destroyed or disabled. But the Zeraxians, who had expected an easy victory, lost over 60% of their forces to weapons they couldn't effectively counter. Supreme Commander Dravox, his flagship critically damaged and support vessels falling around him, faced a reality no Zeraxian military leader had encountered in centuries: defeat at the hands of what they had considered an inferior species. Execute emergency jump, he ordered, his voice harsh with disbelief. All remaining vessels, retreat to defensive position Alpha. As the surviving Zeraxian ships vanished into jump points, a momentary silence fell across Earth's command centers before erupting into cautious celebration. Humanity had won its first major victory. Admiral Blackwood stood before the United Earth Council, his uniform bearing the marks of battle. He had transferred to a forward command vessel during the conflict and barely escaped when it was destroyed. This victory buys us time, but the war is far from over, he cautioned. The Zeraxian Empire still vastly outmatches us in resources and territory. However, we've demonstrated that their technological advantage is not insurmountable. The Admiral activated a holographic display showing a star map. More importantly, our stealth mission was successful. We've established contact with Melvarian survivors, who have agreed to share their knowledge of Zeraxian weaknesses. They've also connected us with remnants of other species who suffered similar fates. President Cortez studied the display thoughtfully. You're proposing an alliance. I'm proposing the formation of the Terran Defensive Alliance, Blackwood corrected. With Earth as its foundation. The Zeraxians conquered through isolation, targeting species individually before they could support each other. Together, we have a fighting chance. In the months that followed, representatives from 7 species, the survivors of Zeraxian aggression, convened on Earth to formalize the alliance. Each brought unique knowledge, technology, and perspective to the coalition. Humanity's innovative adaptation of technology became the cornerstone of a new combined approach to warfare. On the observation deck of the newly constructed Alliance Command Station, Commander Reed stood beside Lieutenant Wei, watching as vessels from different species docked and exchanged personnel. Did you ever imagine this outcome when we first encountered the Zeraxians? Wei asked, gesturing to the unprecedented cooperation before them. Reed shook her head. Never. But that's the irony, isn't it? In trying to eliminate potential rivals, they created the very thing they feared most, a unified opposition capable of challenging their dominance. The Xyraxians still outnumber us, Wei noted soberly. The war ahead will be long and difficult. Reed's expression hardened with determination. But they've lost their most critical advantage, the element of surprise. Now they face species fighting for survival, with nothing left to lose and everything to gain. In the great chamber of the Alliance, representatives from Earth stood alongside the delegates of other surviving civilizations. Despite different biologies, histories, and cultures, they were united by a common purpose, to ensure the Xyraxian Empire would never destroy another world. The final straw had been pulled. Humanity's vengeance was unleashed, not just for themselves, but for all who had suffered under Xyraxian expansion. And in that crucible of shared determination, the seeds of something unprecedented took root, a multi-species alliance that would forever change the galaxy's power structure. The war was far from over, but as the Terran Defensive Alliance mobilized its combined strengths, the Xyraxian Empire faced a new reality: the hunters had become the hunted.